بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
إذا وقعت الواقعة ليس لوقعتها كاذبة خافضة رافعة إذا رجت الأرض
من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم، وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. Welcome to lesson 3 of Journey to the Hereafter, where we study about the hereafter, what will happen, and this is based on Surah al Waqiah. We're going to start today with finishing 2 verses. As you know, we did Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, we did Ba, and then we did Ism, and now we're going to do Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So what we have in front of us is from Al-Mizan. So maybe you've heard of these 2 words, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. They both come from Ar-Rahmah, meaning merciful. But the way that it is divided is, differently. It's divided differently. So in general, Rahmah means that when someone has insufficiency, for example, deficiency, like I have need. Like for example, there's right now, our brothers and sisters in Palestine, for example, are being under siege. They need food and water, for example. So when you give someone what they need, or you help them, that is called rahmah, because you're giving them their deficiency, something that they need. So mercy, ultimately mercy means giving and bestowing to fulfill others' needs. Now Rahman is a paradigm like, for example, that is to magnify or exaggeration. Rahim is a sifa mushabbaha. Okay, so it means perpetual adjective or inseparable attribute. That's what the words are. So one is used for a lot of, like Rahman. So this would be probably a sigha al-mubalagha, meaning used for the form of the word we're talking about. The form of the verb is exaggeration, while the other one is an inseparable attribute, perpetual, Rahim. So when you look at these 2, one being a sifa mushabbah and one being a sigha al-mubalagha, it gives you 2 different tastes of the word. One taste or one interpretation of the word Ar-Rahman can be that because it is to magnify, it is for everyone. So one way to understand Rahman is that it is the mercy of Allah, or providing for the deficiency, because mankind has deficiencies obviously, and is providing for that for every creation. Everything that comes into the existence, it is from Ar-Rahman, because they need, God is providing the insufficiencies they have and giving them existence. The other part, Ar-Rahim, if you look at it, we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but Rahim can be a perpetual adjective, and it is used more to provide for that need that is forever, that perpetual need. So that's why some say Rahim is used for the specific friends of Allah, though the specific mercy of Allah that's going to last forever. Well, where does it last forever? In the hereafter. That everlasting need. And the Rahman can be for everyone, but the Rahim is an everlasting need that will be in the hereafter, that will be that connection with God, that specific mercy that is going to never be going to be exhausted. So let's look at, for example, 20 and 5. You see, as for him who remains in error, the beneficent God will surely prolong his length of days, for example. Or the beneficent God in 25, that was 1975. 20, beneficent God is firm in power. Ar-Rahman al-Arsh istawa. So that is that Rahmah that's upon everything. So that's why some of the translators of the Quran say the entirely merciful is translated as Rahman, and Rahim is the specifically merciful. So this is one way you can look at Rahman, and the other is Rahim, and you can go to this verse. And Rahim is translated as the merciful, but it is that special mercy. On the other hand, it is more appropriate for that mercy which shall remain forever, the perpetual, inexhaustible mercy that God gives. So we see that He is merciful to the believers, or He is compassionate, merciful. That is why it is said, this is Al-Mizan, that the mercy of Ar-Rahman is common for the believers and the unbelievers, and the Rahim is reserved for the believers, because it's that perpetual, inexhaustible mercy. To make it clear for us, I want you to understand this, and that is that we have needs. So we said Rahmah comes from needs. We have different needs. And those immediate needs that we have, for example, I'm thirsty right now, I'm tired right now, I'm hungry right now, I need money. Those are those immediate needs, but they're not everlasting, because I have those needs as long as I'm in this world, because I have a body right now, for example. These are temporary needs in a way. So which one is more important? That fulfilling our temporary needs, or those everlasting needs that I will have for my abadiyat, for my life that will last forever, which are those, that connection to God, that good deeds, that guidance, which in the hereafter, those are the things that I will need the most. So when you understand this in this way, Rahman and Rahim, God's going to remove the deficiencies from everyone, but that Rahim, He's going to give to that close believer, even if sometimes it contradicts with his temporary needs, his material needs. Maybe he will have to lower the material needs to some extent in order for them to get the perpetual needs resolved. And therefore we see that the life of the believer is a way that when guidance is the main way that God treats us or acts according to us, then you see that He's always trying to give you that Rahim, that what's going to be better for you, that perpetually better for you. Maybe temporarily I will suffer a little bit. Maybe temporarily it'll be hard for me. Maybe there'll be hardship, but that hardship is building me in a way, and is so good for me that I don't know, maybe. Sometimes I know, sometimes I don't. But in a way, after it's over, and I'm in the day of judgment, I say, subhanallah, I didn't know, so that those du'as I did, for example, and they never were answered, well, maybe it was bad for me. But whatever Allah gave me, He gave me the best so that I can become the closest to Him, which is a Rahim. He gave me whatever I need for the hereafter. Whatever I need, that's going to be inexhaustible mercy. So when we live our lives, and we say we try to make these, pointers for ourselves, you always try to view the mercy and how Allah treats you with that Rahim, not only that Rahman part. Those are good as well, but you're trying to look for that everlasting mercy of God, and you're always trying to ask for what is khair for you, what is good for you, what is the best for you, even if there might be some hardship, for example. Because a lot of times there's that contradiction with a lot of dunya, enjoyments and relaxation, too much enjoyment, living a lavish life, and not allowing you to remain focused. So therefore Allah will sometimes wake us up, give us some hardship, give us a test, a trial, wake us up so we can go back on that path. Back on that path, and then we'll say, oh, that's why Allah, I was sick that time, that's why, my financial situation was in that way. Why? Because He wanted me to go, get closer to Him. He wanted to take me to Hadd al-Tamam. That is what Allah does, or Rabb does. So therefore, if you look at life through this lens, you're looking that God loves the believers. And you cannot answer, say that whoever has the most, whatever country has the most power, has the most resources, that God loves them the most. No. Whichever country or group has the most amount of guidance, God loves the most. Now we're done with that. I have 2 of these slides. I'll delete one. Let's start Surah al Waqiah actually. So we're going to start here. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إِذَا وَقَعَتِ الْوَاقِعَةُ. We said this is a beautiful surah. It increases our rizq, our provision when recited at night. It is a surah that talks about the hereafter. So the first words here are, one is idha, when, waqa'at, befalling, and al waqa'ah, the event. So waqa'a comes from wuqu'. Al waqa'a means the imminent event. It is an adjective, sifa, that describes any event. Here, it refers to the event of the resurrection, and it is a proper name. A proper name is the name. It's one of the names of the hereafter. Okay, al-waqa'a means something, that event that's going to take place. But al-waqa with alif lam means the event. The imminent event. It's so, important for us to know what it is. It is such a great event. When you just say the event, it means the hereafter. Because everything else compared to the Day of Judgment is nothing as if. But the real event, the eminent event, that most important event is. So to say that, it is the event is so well known that there's no need to mention the noun. It's just the event. Which event? What? It's just a proper noun, the event. This is why scholars have said that al-waqa'a is one of the names given to the resurrection in the Quran. For example, in the Quran you have different names of the resurrection. Al-hadqa, for example, or the besieger. Or you have al-qari'ah, for example, the catastrophe. Al-ghasiba, the enveloper. Let's go to the next slide. I'll give you different names for the hereafter. These are different names in the Quran used for the resurrection. In the Quran, about 70 names and attributes about Qiyamah or the resurrection are mentioned. So there are 70 names. Let's go through some of them. As-Sa'ah, for example, the hour. As-Sa'ah. Yawmul Qiyamah, the day of resurrection. Yawmul Akhir, the last day. Yawmul Hisab, day of reckoning. Yawmul Deen, day of retribution. Yawmul Jam'ah, the day of gathering. Yawmul Fasl, day of judgment. Yawmul Khuruj, day of rising from the dead. Yawmul Maw'ud, the promised day. Yawmul Khulud, day of immortality. You see, 70 names in the Quran for Qiyamah. And all of these, talk about a different part or aspect of the hereafter. Yawmul Khulud, the day of immortality. Yawmul Hasra, the day of regret. Right? SubhanAllah, may Allah, inshallah, give us not make us regretful on that day. Yawmul Taghabun, the day of disposition. Yawmul Ba'ath, the day of resurrection. Here note, Qiyamah is also called Qiyamatul Kubra. Whatever happens in the day of judgment, in a way, a similar version, a lesser version of it happens in the grave, which is called Barzakh. So there's two lives that we have, two types of resurrections, you can say. One resurrection is when we die and Allah in our graves gives us a purgatory life. We have a life that is not this world and not necessarily hereafter. Some say it is needed because you can't just jump into the hereafter. Some say it's in a way that you're accumulating yourselves to the hereafter, and it becomes a heaven garden from the gardens of paradise, or it can become fire from the fires of hellfire. But it's still not compared to the Day of Judgment. So some people make this mistake. They think that, right when you die, Day of Judgment happens. No. Day of Judgment happens collectively. Barzakh happens by each person's death. So right now, all of humans basically are either in this world or in the Barzakh world. The Day of Judgment resurrection didn't start yet. It starts, we'll mention, some of the signs of when it will happen. We'll talk about it. One of them is when Israfil goes to Jerusalem, Quds, faces Qibla, and blows on the trumpet. Israfil. Okay? So that is when the resurrection will happen. But these are names. So when you say إِذَا وَقَعَتُ الْوَاقَعَةِ, you're saying that this is the imminent event. It is a proper noun. This is one of the names of the Qiyamah, Waqa'. So what does al-Waqa' mean? This is the most important thing. If I have an exam, which I don't, I would ask you, what does al waqi'ah mean? You say it's a proper noun, one of the names of the hereafter. I always keep saying hereafter, sorry. The resurrection. Okay? The resurrection. Qiyamah. Another point from Al-Mizan is the sentence, when the imminent event falls, إِذَا وَقَعَتِ الْوَقَعَ, is constructed like a condition, antecedent, or a condition. It's a conditional sentence. Because you either say إِذَا, when this happens, that happens. There's a shart, there's a jaza for usually in a conditional sentence. But this doesn't have it. It just says when the imminent event falls. It's just, but there's no consequence. It should have a consequence. It should have a jaza, So therefore, it says, why do you think Quran doesn't have a consequent in this? So, in this way, Allama Tabatabai explains, in any case, the implicit meaning of the consequent can be known from the content of the chapter detailing the condition of the people on the Day of Judgment. In short, when the imminent event falls, إِذَا وَقَعَتِ الْوَقَعَ, the faithful will triumph and the faithless will lose. That's one way. So there's an implied, there's an implied consequent in this conditional sentence. Because when this happens, this will happen. That's what إِذَا means. إِذَا in Arabic is a conditional sentence. When this happens, this will happen. But this is just saying when this happens, doesn't say what will happen. But Allama Tabatabai explains and says this is implied, saying when al-waqa happens, the faithful will triumph and the faithless will lose. Alright, let's go to the second one. لَيْسَ لِوَقَعَتِهَا كَاذِبًا. There is no denying that it will befall. There's no denying. So Majmul Ba'yan, Kadhiba is an infinitive. It's just called, a masdar. It's infinitive, like afiya or aqiba, for example. But he's saying here that therefore the meaning of the verse is as follows. It's infinitive. There is no denying. That's why it says denying. Kadhiba, it's not ismul fa'il, the denier. Laysa, there's no denier of it. If you want to translate how it looks like kadhiba, would be there's no denier of it. But in Arabic grammar, this is a masdar, which is infinitive, so there's no denying of it. ing. There's no denying its occurrence and its incidence. Others have said that kadhiba is in fact an adjective, meaning false, with an implicit noun, which would render it the meaning of its occurrence is not something false. So this would be, for example, a adjective, a sifa, kadhiba, for a noun that's not there. It would be a hidden noun, an implied noun. No? So this would be an event that is, for example, not something false. Doesn't have to do with denying it. So this one is there's no denying it, it seems like this is the one that the Mufassir takes, is that it is a infinitive. So others will say it's a sifa, and then they'll be translated different. But the way they translate here is لَيْسَ لَوَقْعَتِهَا كَاذِبًا. There is no denying that it will befall. And the denying of it, there is no denying of it, again, to stress the fact that it is hatmi, it's going to happen. It's not something that it might happen, it might not happen. It will happen. لَيْسَ لِوَقْعَتِهَا كَاذِبًا. Now these are, beautiful, lines from the Quran. خَافِضَةٌ. So first of all, those first two ayahs we're talking about in this surah, about you cannot deny it, it's going to happen. Now it's talking about some of the attributes, and these are called, actually, we're going to mention it here, these are called ashratul sa'a, mean indications of the hour. What will happen? What is the Day of Judgment like? So this world is going to be destroyed, okay? The destruction. Israfil is going to blow in the trumpet. These are all, signs of the hour, indications of the hour. Ashratul Sa'a. So Surah al Waqiah has some of these. Other verses of Quran has others. So this, some of the signs, what's going to happen to this world, in this powerful world? Khafidatul Rafa. It'll be lowering and raising. Sometimes when you see lowering and raising, when something wants to be destroyed, you see it gets lowered and raised. Let me do it this way on Instagram as well. Lowered and raised. It gets destroyed, shaken up. Its entire existence will be shaken, lowering and raising. Khafid and Rafa are opposite of each other, describing the imminent event, with both of them is intended to convey the fact that this event will overturn the entirety of the cosmic order that governs the material world. Imagine the entire cosmos, all the galaxies, all the stars, everything being up and down shaken. When this happens, the secrets of the universe will be known, while these are currently veiled. At the same time, though, the usual chain of cause and effect that is visible today will disappear. The mighty disbelievers and sinners will be humbled, and the God-wary will be made mighty. So there's two ways to look at this. This is in terms of the cosmos, that it's going to be lowering and raising. It's going to be, happening in the way that everything will be overturned in a way. But also because the veils will be removed, and this is the Qiyamah happening, you'll be seeing now, oh, that believer that looks so normal. He actually in this world, he didn't even look that great. Nobody paid attention to him. Now it's going to be Rafi'ah. Wow, he's going to shoot up in our eyes because the bears will be moved. Wow, that guy is way up there. He's so high, when I look up, my hat falls down. And then, oh, the same person that I thought was such a good person, he used to speak so well, he used to dress so nice. Everyone loved him, but he was a bad person. Khafila, he would come down. وَإِذَا رُجَّتِ الْأَرْضُ رَجًّا. So raj, what does raj mean? So when the earth is shaken with convulsion. So again, these are conditions of the Day of Judgment. What's going to happen to this world before? Because the world's going to end. So some that don't know, let me just say it for them. There's going to be the Dhuhur of Imam Zaman first. The government of Imam Zaman first. And everything will be peaceful, beautiful in this world. There'll be Raj'ah, the return of the infallibles. Then when the government is done, the world is going to end. Then Israfil blows on the trumpet, and everyone dies. Then he'll blow again, and everyone will be resurrected. When this blowing of the trumpet occurs, then these things happen. As we say, Khafadatul Rafa'a, the entire cosmos or the world is shaken up, up and down the world. Maybe you can say just earth, I don't know. But anyways, it's, the existence, this is what happens to it. Then, إِذَا رُجَّتِ الْأَرْضُ رَجًّا, then Raj, which signifies intense movement, it is used here to reference of quaking that will take place when the hour sets. So it's shaking, quaking, which God magnifies in the Quran. In the verse, indeed, the quake of the hour is a terrible thing, 22:1. And in the present verse, because it speaks about the shaking of the entire earth. It emphasizes severity by using the absolute object rajjan again. So this is, again, in a way, emphasis without any sort. So إِذَا رُجَّتِ الْأَرْضِ رَجَّ. If you see here, there's two raj. So that's used for emphasis, used for ta'keed. So it will be taken, it will be shaken. You can translate there's a severe shaking. So that's what the beautiful is of Arabic. When you use that, as a noun later on, when you use it as a verb, then say إِذَا رُجَّتِ الْأَرْضُ رَجًّا. So then when the earth will be shaken, what is shaking? Without any sort of adjective, as it has been so in this, it is so powerful that it's beyond description. So that's why when you look at the Arabic, you really can't translate this. I believe this is called al-maf'ul al-mutlaq. So when you say this, like it's a shaking. What type of shaking? It's a shaking that it's undescribable shaking. But like the English is going to say like when the earth is shaken with convulsion, and it's very boring or whatever. But when you read the Arabic, it's إِذَا رُجَّتِ الْأَرْضِ shaken. But what type of shaking? Undescribable shaking. So therefore, now this is either a badal of إِذَا وَقَعَتِ الْوَاقِعَةُ, or this is which is a extension or explanation, bayan of إِذَا وَقَعَتِ الْوَاقِعَةُ. What type of waqa'ah? What's going to happen? إِذَا رُجَّتِ الْأَرْضُ رَجًّا. Talk about some of these are my notes. Ashratu Sa'ah. What happens? For the Day of Judgment. What happens? So one is that the Quran mentions crumbling of the mountains. We're going to be mentioning that soon. The crumbling of the mountains, moving of the seas. All of these are verses in the Quran. great and destructive earthquakes, darkness of the sun, darkness of the moon, darkness of stars, splitting the sky and blowing the trumpet by Israfil. وَبُسَّتِ الْجِبَالُ بَسَّ. Again, I believe this is al-maf'ul al-mutlaq. And the mountains are broken down, crumbling. Bas means for a body to be ground down and reduced to a fine dust-like flour. Okay, it's going to be like a dust. Imagine these mountains we have that, probably one of the strongest things on earth that we always give examples of. It's like mountains will move, before this person moves, for example. Or if you look Quran, the mountain will crumble, on a mountain. So mountains are the sturdiest, strongest things we have. So when waqa'ah happens, it'll be so powerful that the strongest things that we see day to day, usually we live around mountains, it crumbles like a fine dust. Those mountains, imagine like the Himalayas, turning to more Himalayan salt, I guess. I don't know what it would turn into. This follows on from the previous, some of the brothers here, they know Himalayan salt well. So this follows on from the previous verse, bas, which means from a body to be ground down like, flour. Some have said that bas means to be set in motion, but what he translated here as the mountains will be broken down, crumbling. Bussatil jibal, again, maf'ulun mutlaq. Bussatil jibal, the mountains will be, crumbled. But bassan, what a type of crumble. What crumbling will happen? Undescribable crumble that will happen. وَكَانَتْ هَبَاءً مُنْبَثًّا. And haba means to, again, dust. Others have said it refers to motes of dust that are visible in a sunbeam. That dust, it'll be such a fine dust that you can look at it through a sunbeam, those type of dust, which will, enter whatever. So imbi'ath here, which is فَكَانَتْ هَبَاءً مُنْبَثًّا. Imbi'ath means to be dispersed or spread out. So therefore it'll be dust, the entire world, and mountains, so the mountains will turn into dust. So these first 6 verses in the Holy Quran, Surah al Waqiah, talk about Ashratul Sa'ah. If I ask you on the exam, what is Ashratul Sa'ah? The indication, we don't have an exam, just joking, indications of the hour, the crumbling of mountains, we said, for example, the earth being shaking, what is shaking, khaf lowering and raising. These are all what will happen in the Day of Judgment. And then we're going to talk about now, okay, these things happen, but what's going to happen to, humans, and what is going to happen to us. And then we're going to go into the different parts, which is the next verse will be وَكُنْتُمْ أَزْوَاجًا ثَلَاثًا. You will be 3 groups. See how beautifully Quran sets it up and talks about these events that are very scary in a way, frightening for us. This is going to happen. The judgment, which is for certain, the waqa'ah, the event's going to happen. Now, Quran relates that, to وَكُنْتُمْ أَزْوَاجًا ثَلَاثًا, the verse 7, that you are 3 groups. So remember, mankind, when this event is happening, it's going to happen for sure, that you will be into 3 groups. So what do you understand from this as a reciter of Quran, a believer in Quran? It's like, I better pay attention, and my time is limited, and I hope I will be part of these these 3 groups. I'll be part of ashab yamin, or I'll be part of sabiqun, the foremost, or the people of the right. I better pay attention, because it will be a very frightening day, and there will be no protection except for whoever Allah gives protection to. So I better be very careful. Such a frightening event. If I tell you an event you have tomorrow, you're going to prepare, obviously. I said, look, tomorrow there's going to be an earthquake. Already you'd be, preparing your stuff, like, okay, or there's a hurricane coming. I'm going to be preparing my bags. I'm going to get ready. But I'm telling you, there's going to be something that, nothing like a earthquake, a hurricane that you ever experienced. Then we have to pack our bags and get ready so that we can be able to get, inshallah, that protection from Allah from that day, inshallah. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.
الرافعة إذا رجت الأرض رجا وبست الجبال بسا فكانت هباء